All right, welcome to 574 class on wireless and mobile networking. In this first class, we will do 4 things. What are the goals of this course? How we grade? What are we going to cover? And then when? So the course title is Wireless and Mobile Networking. So what's the difference? Many people take the wireless is mobile and mobile is wireless, which is true for many things, but it is not always true. So mobile means something that moves, or mobile, right? Something that moves, and wireless, something that is not connected. So if you don't have wire, that is wireless, and if you are not stationary, then you are mobile or mobile. And generally, to be mobile, you need wireless. You could be moving. I could be moving this computer with wire connected, so I can have mobility with wire, but it's difficult. Similarly, I could use wireless when there is no motion at all. I mean, like, most of your laptops right now are not moving, but you have wireless, and same thing goes for desktops nowadays, and so on and so forth. So they are different. And the issues are, in wireless, when we talk about wireless, we talk about the media and the media sharing issues. So one of the things is that you have taken computer networking, I suppose, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is that while in the computer networking course, we do not do too much of the phi layer, the physical layer, right? But in the wireless, we start from the physical layer, because that's what makes it different from other networks, is that the physical layer is different. And so if you want to be called wireless person or person who has taken a course in wireless, you need to know some of the phi layer terms. And generally that goes into electrical engineering. But then I'm going to cover, in that great detail. If this was a course being offered by the wireless, by electrical engineering department here, they would call it wireless communications. So that's one difference between communications and networking. Communication has to deal with the hardware, generally, part of it. You didn't get it?
They weren't on the printer. Give me a copy. Of the
Okay, anyway, thank you. So wireless communication. The communication has to do with the hardware part of it and generally physical layer. That's where they cover. So whole semester they will cover physical layer. All right? We have one class to do that. Out of the 27 classes, as you will see, we are covering mostly the other layers along with the physical layers as they come and basically whenever the issue comes up. But our goal is to cover MAC and higher layers. So this is media sharing issues, is what the wireless is all about. Mobility. Mobility has to do with the routing. So if you are here, I have to send your packets here. If you are there, I have to send your packets there. So how do we find you? How do we send your packets? How do we send packets when you go from here to there? All that, those issues are mobility routing issues. All right? And we are going to cover both. By the way, you should interrupt, and you can interrupt any time in this course. In fact, I'm going to come in a minute, that the more you interrupt, the more grades you get in a minute. So I'm going to tell that. Before that, so if something is not clear, if you have a question, please do ask, okay? Wireless networking. So, first of all, wireless means that you are not connected to anything, right? I mean, you are not connected via wire to anything. And so you could basically do what we call ad hoc networking, which means that if you have 2 computers, you don't need a wire, they could just talk to each other. And in fact, all the computers have this facility that if you have Wi-Fi, which I can't think of any computer or any mobile or anything that doesn't have Wi-Fi today. If you have Wi-Fi, you can talk to each other, okay, without anything else required. So you don't need a base station, for example. But the problem is that the wireless is much more error prone than the wired network. The probability of errors is much, much higher. So when we were designing wired networks like Ethernet, I was involved in the design of, our goal was to have the error rates of 10 raised to minus 12 in the bits, 10 raised to minus 3 or 4 or 6 in the packets. Okay, here we are talking about 10 raised to minus 1 and 2. All right, so there are a lot more errors here, and so that means that we have to do something about the traffic, how to handle those kinds of losses. Frequent disconnection, and while with the wire, if you're disconnected, you're gone. With the wireless, that's a common thing. We cannot just forget you if you just get disconnected for a second, right? So we have to somehow have ways of continuing. In particular, if you are watching a video, or if you are talking on a phone. And so these short-term disconnections should be totally transparent, right? Battery operated. Now again, this is not necessary. Right now I have wireless here and it's all running on the power. So that's good. But generally if you are mobile, then you obviously are not going to be able to connect to the wire to the power for power even. And so we need generally battery operated. And so the question is of the energy savings. How do you do that? And how long your battery can last? So we have come a long way from the days where the battery used to last few hours on a cell phone. I remember in 1980s, we used to have such a big cell phone, and battery used to last few hours basically. Now it lasts few days, in some cases few weeks. And what has happened? The batteries are not becoming better. The protocols have become better. Okay? And so we'll show you how that happens, right? Time synchronization, basically, that is a common thing in the communication, whether it is wired or wireless. We need to have the same time speed so that we know when one bit, how long is one bit, and when one bit will end and all that, right? Broadcast. So the final thing about the wireless is that everyone can hear. Right? When I transmit, this is like right now we are actually talking wireless. So when I speak something, everybody can hear. Right? This is not electronic wave, but it is sound wave we are talking about when I'm talking about myself. But same thing happens in the electromagnetic waves. Okay? And the sound is an electromagnetic wave. So we'll come to that too in a minute. So basically, broadcast means, unlike a wired network, if I have a physical wire between me and that wall, nobody else can hear what is going on in those bits, right? But with wireless, it's all open. So security is a big issue. All right. So that's why we need to worry about wireless, and that's how it is different from the rest of the networking that you have learned. Now, in terms of mobility, the main thing is the location. So when you are moving, we need to know where you are and precisely know where you are. And so basically, now we know everybody where they are. Actually, if I don't know, NSA knows. And you know what is NSA? Somebody doesn't know? Okay, well, so if you don't, please ask, okay? So the question is, how do they know? Basically by the cell phone. Your cell phone position is known to the telephone company every single microsecond. Okay? If you go from here to the office, they know that you went from here to the office. And so it can be very easily found. But anyway, the issue is, so location is one thing. First we know the location, then we have to send the signal there. If you're on a different tower, we have to send it to a different tower. And so there is the issue of addressing and handoff. Handoff is when you go from a tower to tower to tower. Right? Addressing basically is that your IP address will change. Basically what happens is, if you are in this room, you will get one IP address. If you go to some other room in the campus, you will get another IP address. Right? And that's a problem with IP. But we have to somehow handle that with wireless, within wireless. So anyway, goals of this course. This is a comprehensive course on wireless and mobile networking. So the issue is that in many universities where they have a lot more students and so on and so forth, they have many more courses on networking, and there are many courses on wireless itself we could have. But here we don't have that luxury. We have to cover everything that we want to do in wireless in one class. So this is a comprehensive course, and my goal is to cover as much as possible in basically as latest as possible. And that's the problem, because I want to cover things which are relevant today. Okay? And that brings us to, many of you have taken previous courses with me, you know that means, there won't be any textbook, because by the time they get into the books, they are 3 years old, and the world is moving too fast for us to be studying things which are very, very old. 3 years old is fine. Even 10 years old is fine. But otherwise, you will be knowing 10 years and you won't know 3 years. So, thing is, we have to balance. So, broad coverage of key areas. So, now that's where the problem comes in, is that you have too many things to cover. Time is still 27 classes. So, we are going to cover in breadth. And I want to warn you beforehand, because if you want to get into depth into one topic, we will do that, but not in the class. Okay? There is a lot more. There are whole books on, if you pick up a book on wireless, the whole book has 27 chapters on Wi-Fi. Just Wi-Fi. Okay? And we are going to have one class, or maybe 2 classes, maybe 3 classes at most I can, I can afford here. Alright? And we move on to something else. There is a whole book on sensor networks, or 802.15. Again, we are going to cover that whole book if we were to cover it in 3 classes. In fact, we are going to cover something that is not in even the latest sensor books, right? So that's the kind of speed we are going to go. That's the positive and that's the negative, but you have to decide, because if we had lots of classes, then we had lots of courses, then we could have just covered one class on Wi-Fi, the next class on sensors, and next class on wide area networks, and so on and so forth. So the emphasis is on the higher layers. Now, this being electrical engineering course, being a computer science course, we are not going to do wireless communication in detail. We are going to do mostly on the higher layers, which is layer 2 and up. And we are going to emphasize both present industry standards and products and the near future research. So that's another thing, is that my emphasis is to emphasize what is relevant for the industry. You're going to go look for a job, and particularly if you're looking for an industry job, you need to know what they're doing, as opposed to if you're going to look for academic jobs, then you don't need much of this, because for the academic job, you just do one thing for 4 years, and then you go there and you say, well, I know this, and they say, okay, fine. But for the industry, they want you to be moving very fast. They are moving very fast. All right? They can't afford you to do one thing for 4 years, by the way. So, what they need to see in that 4 years is that you really can pick up things, something that is totally unknown, and get on with it. So that's why you need 4 years. But basically, you should be able to pick up anything. So, we are going to do that, industry standards and products and research. And then this is a graduate course. So, this is not an undergrad course. Some of you took 473. That was an undergrad course. Undergrad course, we generally try to follow a book chapter by chapter. Here we are not following a book, but not only that, in the grad course, you need to start learning how to create knowledge. Not just follow the knowledge, but to create knowledge. So some of you are undergrads here, and you probably have taken graduate courses, but in this one, at least you have to create something that you can call your own. So there is a project. There is a survey paper. And the paper will go through all the phases that people go through when they publish a paper, which means that you write a paper, it is reviewed by 3 people. After the review, you get a grade, and you are allowed to, you are given, feedback, you fix the paper, and then we publish it on our website. Okay? And so you will have to do reading not only for the paper, but also for the class, because most of the class is not in the books. Most of the material is not in the books, but everything that I'm going to present here, I'm going to give you the source. So everything that, basically I read, and I read 10 times more than what I put into the lectures, that if I take something from some place, I put that reference right there on the same slide. Okay? And at the end, you have a reading list, and you need to read it. All right? So why study wireless? Why go through all this hassle? First of all, so Wi-Fi is not that old. Today it is everywhere, but it is just 1999, which is 14 years, 13 plus 1, 14 years old. Can you believe that? That 14 years ago we didn't have Wi-Fi? right? And when the wireless came, actually, I remember you had to ask for Wi-Fi as an option if you bought a computer. It was not a standard. Today they don't ask you, right? And they ask you if you need a Ethernet, by the way. Believe it or not, wired is optional now. None of my laptops have wired in Ethernet anymore. Okay? Wireless is a standard. If you get an iPhone, wireless is a standard. There is no wired option even. All right? If you get a laptop, wireless is a standard. There is no wired option. Not laptop, I mean tablet. All right? So the world is moving in a direction where networking is somehow taken to be wireless by default. So first it was an option, now it is a standard. And most of the access, now you have to define the network into three parts. Well, if nothing else, into two parts. The access and the core. Access is what connects the user to some wired place. Okay? So if you are connected here right now, access is basically this connection from this laptop to something, and then there is a core network. If you are outside connected to AT&T or Verizon or something, access is until you get to their tower, and the core is from the tower onwards. All right. If you are at home and you have DSL, wired network, same thing. The DSL connects you from your home to the telephone company, that is access, and from the telephone company office onwards is core. Okay? So the access is now predominantly wireless. And as you know, smartphone, tablets, laptops, ultrabooks have no wired Ethernet connection. And for telecommunication carriers, there is no money in the wired telephone connections. You know that, right? You are all disconnecting your wired telephone. I don't know how many of you have it still. And if you have it with a telecom carrier, you are probably wasting your money. So the idea is they are not making any money out of the wired Ethernet, wired connections. Okay, it's very difficult. The real money is in the wireless for them. The real jobs for you are in the wireless because that's what they're looking for. Okay, if you know everything about networking but don't know wireless, well, you know what you know, how much part of that is missing, and that is actually all right here. So US wireless industry is valued at 195 billion, which is larger than many other industries such as publishing, agriculture, hotels, lodging, air transportation, and so on and so forth. By the way, references are on the bottom. And all the references are clickable. Clickable means that if you download the PDF, which is available online, and every page has a URL right there in the bottom. If you go to the website of the course, you can download the handout in soft copy and you can click it. And you can right away get to the source. So it's a big industry. And it provides 2.6% of all US employment. All right, wireless. So it's very important area. Wireline revenue is contracting while wireless is expanding. So this picture, if you can see the colors, shows that wireline is going down and wireless is going up. Okay, the total revenue is not growing that much for the carriers. That's a problem. But if anything is growing, it's the wireless. Okay, any questions about this? It has been too quiet for too long.
The industry CAGR is minus 0.3 and the wireless CAGR may be very high actually.
Yeah, they did not point out the wireless AGR. So the question is, that's a very good question. What is AGR? Sorry, CAGR. I think it's annual growth rate, right? And cumulative is cumulative annual growth rate. And so it's not growing at all. I mean, you can see the total thing is kind of horizontal. So that is minus 0.3% is decreasing. Annual growth in the telecom carrier is decreasing. They're under a lot of pressure because their income is decreasing. But wireless is increasing, and they have not given that CAGR for that. Any other question? All right, so what are we going to cover and when? So today is the course overview. Next class, Wednesday, we will do the trends. Then we will go into the physical layer. And then we'll start with 11. 802.11 Wi-Fi, you guys use it all the time. And that's basically how the wireless computer networking also, I mean, it didn't start with Wi-Fi. There were wireless networks much before that. Hundreds of years before that. So, but this is where really we started touching the common users. So, we will spend time on 11. Right now, it doesn't make a difference what we say. The numbers here, 802.11 ABGN, AD, AF, and then we'll go into 11P, 11S, and so on and so forth. But basically, we will cover Wi-Fi. We will cover 60 gigahertz, we'll cover white spaces, vehicular networks, mesh networking. Now all of these are very new. Okay? 60 gigahertz is just happening right now. White spaces just was legalized last year or maybe year before last. So it's happening right now. Vehicular networking are not here yet. I mean, your car doesn't talk to somebody else's car yet, but it will after the Google has its way, right? And so mesh networking is there. But anyway, so the idea is these are all very new topics in 11. So we are not going to spend too much time on the old 11. And one more thing, I have already taught all of this in the last 3, I think I did it in 6, 8, 10, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times I have taught this course. All the lectures are recorded. If I have to cover something old, I will ask you to listen to those lectures and make sure that you listen to those lectures, because we don't have time for those things here now, and we will try to concentrate on the new stuff. Okay? So if I find that there is something which can be easily be covered by the previous lecture, it's all there. The slides are there, the recordings are there, audio, video, everything. You can just see it. So anyway, that is 11. After we finish 11, we go to 15 and start with Bluetooth. And actually, I will come back to the exam in a minute. Let's keep going. In 15, we will cover 15.4, 15.3, 15.3A, C, Zigbee, NFC, wireless, HD, RFID. So I have a big list here, and I may not be able to cover. I may be able to cover, I don't know, 3 or 4 courses. In 3 or 4 classes, we have to cover a lot of stuff, which includes ultra-wideband. It includes personal area networks, wireless personal area networks, Zigbee, NFC. NFC is near field communications, and wireless high definition, HD actually for the video, and then RFID. RFID, you know, basically in the stores they have RFID, in the radio frequency identifiers. So in 4 classes we will try to do 15, and right now this is my wish. I hope we can cover it, because if we cannot cover it, then we'll have to just move on, because you know, basically there is so much time. Then we move on to wide area networks. So wide area networks are what we call telecom. Telecom is the telecommunication or the phone companies. And so we start with cellular, and cellular 1G and 2G. You all know, because most of you have 3G and 4G now, so I don't have to explain G. A few years ago we had to explain this, because before 3G they never used the word G in public. Okay? 3G is where the public started knowing G. It was, you know, more like, you know, you just have cell phone. All right, so we'll talk about 1G, 2G quickly, 2.5G, 3G quickly, and then move on to WiMAX and LTE. Okay? LTE and WiMAX are what we call 4G now. Actually, originally they were not 4G, they were more like 3.9G, but now the industry had sold it as 3G. So then there is LTE Advanced and WiMAX 2, which are supposed to be 4G, but now they will be sold as 5G. So we'll see. We cover 5G. Then we move on little bit to mobility issues here. And so there is a media independent handover. So you are going to be moving from WiMAX to Wi-Fi to Bluetooth to whatever, wired network. So that is what we need to worry about, media independent. So regardless of what you were on before, we want to get to the next media. And then IPv4 and IPv6 mobility. About multicast. Then IPv6 over 15. This is what we call Internet of Things. So we'll talk about that. TCP over wireless, ad hoc networks, sensor networks, and that's all we have. And if actually it is quite possible that some of it might get compressed in the sense that if we take a little bit more time here, then some of this older stuff, may come out. Okay. Any questions about what we need to cover, or did you have something else in mind that we should cover? Okay, somebody has to be the first one to ask a question. Well, you already asked the question, but somebody else. Yeah.
What's the timeline for the paper that you're talking about?
Yeah. Okay, I'm coming to the paper in a minute, but let's go back to the exam. There are 3 exams. Actually, there are 2 exams, a midterm and a final. The midterm, I give you 2 chances. So I take midterm 1 and midterm 2, and we take the best of the 2. If you do very well in first one, then you don't have to worry about doing the well in the second one. If you do well in the second one, that's fine. So basically, the idea we take the best of the 2, and the dates of the exams are fixed. So they will not change. Whether we cover this material or not, if we don't cover whatever material we cover by the 9th class, they will be in the exam. Okay? So please mark that date in your calendar right now. So you don't set up any interviews, any travel or anything like that. Yeah, don't get sick at least. So I know you don't want to get sick, but I'm just saying, the thing is, if you get sick or whatever it is, everybody has a chance to make it again second time. Okay? So if you don't get sick, it's not that you cannot take the second exam. Everybody gets the second exam. For whatever reason, if you missed or you didn't miss, you didn't do well, didn't sleep that night, you get a second chance. So that is the second exam. After that, the final exam is fixed. And that is actually much before the final exam period. Okay? So that date is also fixed. That is the last day of the class, 4/28. Last day of this class, actually. Okay, so please mark it on your calendar. We will just have it that day, right here in this room. All right? I'm going to talk about the paper in a minute, but let's just cover about the prerequisite. So you need to know 473. That is given, because if you don't know, if you have never taken any networking course, this is going to be a tough one. And I would not recommend anybody taking this course if this is your first networking course. Please go and take 473 first, because it will be too much. All right. Now by 473, I don't really mean that you have to take 473 at here in WashU. If you have taken any networking course somewhere else, hopefully you have done the work. Okay. Actually, it turns out that well, let me just go over this list here. I will cover this. The physical layer is not covered in the fourth. What happened here? The ISO OSI reference model. Everybody knows that, right? ISO OSI reference model. Somebody doesn't know? Okay, well, I don't see the head shaking, so I am kind of afraid. How many people don't know what is ISO OSI reference model? Please. How many people know ISO OSI reference model? All right. If you don't know ISO OSI reference model, this class will be tough. That is the first thing we teach in 473. That is the first thing which is taught at every place in networking class. All right. And I don't want you to get into trouble. I don't want unhappy students. All right? And so please, if you really don't know ISO OSI reference model, which is the 7 layers, then, we will be in trouble. All right? Second thing is the physical layer. Now, physical layer is a questionable thing. I have always taught, actually, when I taught 473, I teach, fourth physical layer. But nowadays, I see lots of people don't teach it. So if it is not taught, we'll cover much of it here. So I won't emphasize that right now. And same thing, this is also physical layer. I suppose you know what is UTP, what is Cat5, what is microwave and radio. But if you don't know, I would forgive you. Let's just put it this way. Maybe we'll try to do as much as possible in this class. Data communications. This you should know. So this is about what is an asynchronous transmission or synchronous transmission, what is a baud, bit and hertz, half duplex and full duplex, modulation and demodulation. Again, we are in somewhat questionable territory because many professors don't cover this. I don't know. Just let me ask, how many people know what is a baud? How many people here know what is a baud? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's a very small percentage. Now, let me see. Who took the 473 last semester? They did not teach you baud? I can't complain anymore. So the idea is we will cover baud. So the thing is, this is the thing is that, okay. Let me not say anything more. But basically, we'll try to cover that. Moving on to the higher layers, framing, bit stuffing and byte stuffing. Now, if they cover HDLC, then all of this comes up. What is framing, what is bit stuffing, what is byte stuffing, and then the flow control, on-off flow control, Windows flow control. This at least everybody knows, right? On-off, okay, good. And then error detection, what is a parity, what is a checksum, what is a CRC. Okay, all right. So we are somewhere there. Maybe the first 3-4 things are not first 3-4 things. Second 3 and 4, I will have to do a little bit more work here. Moving on, error recovery. Start, stop, go back and selective reject. If you don't know this, please raise the hand right now, because it's not bad that you didn't learn. It's all bad that you were not taught. Okay, and so I need to know that. Okay, so we plan accordingly, and you should know what is Aloha, what is CSMS CD, what is Ethernet, what is 802.3. You should know what are the addresses. By the way, how long is the address, LAN address? Anybody? Not anybody. How many bits long is the LAN address? How many people know? My God. How many people know how long is the MAC address? How many people know what is the MAC address of their computer? I am in trouble, I tell you. Okay. How many people know CSMS CD? Everybody knows that? I still don't see all the hands go up. CSMS CD? No? Okay, so you took the course right here, right? 2 of you, right there? They taught CSMS CD, right? Yeah, okay, CSMS CD is known here, but maybe some other place they didn't. Okay. Let's move on. LAN wiring. Okay, well, this may not have been taught, so I will just forgive this one. Extended LANs. So you know what is an extended LAN, what is a bridge, what is a router? Right? Okay. Routing, distance vector versus link state. Somebody knows that, right? Okay, good enough. Network layer, connectionless versus connection oriented. Well, if you don't know, that's fine. Okay. Alright, so this is what actually I assume that people will know, but if they're not, then whenever the time comes up, please ask questions and I may either answer it or give you a reference to read. Okay? Because this is somewhat fundamental to networking, and I assume that many people will know it. Anyway, so textbook. Now let's see. Prerequisite done. Textbook. So I would love to use a textbook, but there is none. And so every lecture we will have a reading list. We will have a list of books too. If I find a book in which some material is covered, for example, when I talk about 11, there are lots of books on 11. So we will find the books that are useful. And generally, all the books nowadays are available online, soft copy legally, not illegal. Soft copy legally in the university via something called Safari books. Okay? So all of you should figure out what is a Safari book and how you get to it. Alright? Just go to the library.wustal.edu and then from there figure out where Safari book is. Safari book covers most of the latest books nowadays and it's really good. You can read it from home. Okay? And so we will use lots of Safari books. We will use Wikipedia. Wikipedia is the easiest thing to find. So, some of the latest information. And websites. Alright, most of the books are available as Safari book. Wustal has a subscription to Safari books and all students and faculty have free online access. So if you are not at Wustal, so are there people here who are not? Well, if you are a student here, you are at Wustal, right? So that's fine. Even if you work for Boeing or some other company, if you are a student here, I think you have the access to the library and therefore you have access to the Safari books. Grading. So we have 30% for the midterm, 30% for the final, 5% for class participation, 15% for the homework, and 20% for the project. Alright, I haven't talked about the project yet, it is coming up. But there will be homework, so that will count for 15%, and 5% for class participation. And that is what it is right now. When I ask a question, if you answer it, you participated in the class. If you ask a question, that you participated in the class. So it's not just that you have to answer the question. If you ask the question also, that's good. And I want it to be a two-way communication. Alright, not full duplex. If you know the difference between half duplex and full duplex. I want it half duplex, two-way communication. That means that you ask the question, so please do, and I keep track of all this, and that 5% is the only thing that I give what I feel is right, okay? Other than that, everything is in your hand. So, let's see. So we take the best of the two midterms, that is 30%, and then the final is 30%, and then, so on and so forth. Any question about this? It's all clear? Wow. All right, project. So the project could be a hands-on something. If you wanted to do something hands-on, so you could suggest that I want to do this thing, and if it is interesting enough, and interesting means I really want people outside of the class or the world to be interested in it. If it is interesting enough, then I will say, okay, go ahead and do this. And in fact, for the measurement projects, I allow you 2 people. So you could even find a partner and do it. But simplest thing would be to survey on a recent topic, and I provide the topic. So I will, in few weeks, once you start understanding some of the wireless words that we are going to talk about, topics, I will provide a list of topics, and then you select, you give your preference, and I resolve the collisions. Okay? So you get a topic finally after this collision resolution, and then you work on it for several weeks, months, maybe month and a half, and then you write a paper that will go on my website. Okay? We will go through step by step every week. Literature search, starting with the literature search, then reading the papers, writing the papers, and so on and so forth. And I'm expecting you will spend about 6 hours on the project and 9 hours total on the class, maybe, or maybe 15. I don't know. How many hours you are supposed to spend on a 3-credit course? 15? Okay, so then that adds up. 6 plus 9. All right. So if you go back to the website, my website, you will find these projects for every course. Actually, I have taught every graduate course. There is a list of projects that people have done, the students have done. So from wireless class 2010, people did, some students did 16M, which is what we call WiMAX 2. So at that time, there was not enough material on WiMAX 2 that it was more of a student project than the class material, right? Current status of CAP, BAP, femtocells, LTE. Now many of these will be now taught in this class directly because now they have advanced to a stage where there is enough development. But 3 years ago, this was all up in the sky. And LTE advanced, mobile-based augmented reality, cloud computing, smart grid, and so on and so forth. 2008, body area networks. So these are all the topics that you can find on the website. Papers are all there. You can look at the papers. You can see what people do or have done. And they are really good topics in the sense that these are the topics that the world wants to know, and then you get a call from someplace saying that, can you publish that in our journal, please? This is that level of recentness. 2006. In 2006, which is 7 years ago, 16, 20, etc., we're kind of new. A lot of this stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, it's a new paper on a certain topic, so it's no programming or simulation or this kind of stuff.
Okay, so there are 2 options. First option is just write a paper. Second is you do programming, or that's an option too. All right, let me show you some of them. Let's see. Sorry. So basically, if you have some idea of doing something, you can suggest, and that is where you have a lot more freedom than than in the topic. Survey topic, I will tell you the topic, right? The project part, you suggest, you think of something that you can do, which is really neat and nice and new, and then you can do that programming part. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right, project requirement, recent development, last 3 to 5 years, generally not in the books, and please don't take anything. If something is already in the books, then we don't want it. All right, that is not what we are here for. Comprehensive survey, and that means that it's just not technical, it has to be industry standards products, so you just give a good idea what's happening in the world. Will be published on my website, better ones may be submitted to magazines or journals, no copyright violation, and this is the key. You cannot take, when you're writing a survey, you cannot take somebody's paragraph and put it into your paper. People whose English is not the native language, for them, basically they get into problem there because instead of writing something that is wrong, they would just take the right thing from somewhere and put it, and that is wrong. Okay? No sentences can be taken from anywhere. And nowadays there are, thanks to Google, there are lots of services which will just tell me right away where the sentence came from. Okay? So you cannot do that. You cannot copy the figures or anything like that. You have to summarize the ideas in your own words. You can take the ideas. Ideas are not copyrighted. The words are. The figures are not copyrighted. The sizes. So suppose I draw a square and you draw a square, but the square is different size, and it's not that all the squares you have just reduced it by 30%. Then it is a copy. You see what is a copy? Copy is you take a photocopy, that is a copy of the figure, right? But if you draw the figure yourself, it's your figure. Right? So there is no copyright violation if you don't just copy either the words or the pictures. Cannot copy any part of the text. Short quotes, okay. If you want to quote something, just put it quotation marks and put it in italics and all that. Any unmodified figure needs permission. All infringement will result in forfeiture of grades even after graduation. So even if I find out that 2 years ago you wrote this project and somebody complains that, oh, this is my paper, you copied, then you are in trouble. All right? Any question about the project? All right, schedule. So there are many steps. First step starts from today. So we will do the search sampling. We'll learn how to do the searching, how to do HTML writing. I forgot to mention that. All the papers have to be written in HTML. Right? All the web pages are in HTML. You know what is HTML. And hopefully you've already written it. If not, you have to learn it. And so you will write something that straight goes on the web page. And it has to be written by you in the sense that you cannot just have some Microsoft Word produce an HTML for you. So we'll do that. Topic selections will be by this time, 2:10. References will be due on 2:19, and then you will have 2 weeks to read those papers, to produce an outline, and another month to read the more and then produce the final report. And this is the final report. And then the reviews will be due a week later, and then the final report will be due a week later. So this is the day, this is the schedule, and these are the points. This is how they make up total 20. All right. The final report is in HTML, and I have divided the points into 2 points, 7 and 2. 7 points for the quality of the material and 2 points for the HTML. So if you have errors in the HTML, you lose those 2 points. Let's see what else. Yeah, the another thing is that this is really heavy weight. This final report, you cannot just submit and say, well, I will fix it 1 week later, because that one is really graded by the peers. A lot of people complain, how come my peer can give me a grade? But that's what it is. In the real world, when I write a paper and I send to a journal, my peers give me a grade. They decide whether it is accepted or rejected. Okay? Whether it is quality 3, 1, 2 or 4. All right? This is how the world works. All right? And you will get the feedback and and so on and so forth. So that is 5 points right there. No, there is no presentation. We don't have time for presentation. Actually, I wish we could discuss all these projects in the class, but given 27 classes, you saw how crammed the calendar was, so there is no presentation. Yes, if there was a project that you did, and if it is interesting enough, we might do that. And we have done that actually a lot more in the security class. I teach a security class. In the security class, people have done some really neat stuff, such as how to rob your bank account, and then we demonstrate it right here. Yeah.
Do you grade the revised reports, or is that also peer?
I grade the revised report. Yeah. Okay. Exams. I think somebody had asked question about the project, so I think that is all right. Is there any question about the project before I go into exam? So exams consist of numerical, fill in the blanks, and multiple choice true or false questions. Okay. Now in this course, actually there is plenty of opportunity for numerical work. And there are formulas, there are things that you have to know how to calculate. In many classes, like the class previously I taught to this in a previous semester, there was not that much of opportunity for calculation. It was more different things. So we have numerical questions, fill in the blank questions, and multiple choice questions. There is a negative marking for multiple choice. So if there are n choices, then if you do it correct, it is +1. If you do incorrect, it is -1 upon n minus 1. Just to be sure, if there are 2 choices, true or false, then +1 for the correct and -1 for the incorrect. Why this formula? This is basically ensures that the random marking for any number of questions will result in 0. Okay? So for the true false, don't just guess. Unless you are more than 50% sure to be right, just leave it alone. Okay? Alright, by the way, I also teach a course on performance analysis, statistics. So I'll figure it out. That this is how is the right way to grade. Alright? And everyone, including the graduating students, are graded the same way. So there is no other factor. See these numbers here, 30, 20%, whatever it is. They can't just be changed that, okay, you are an undergrad, or you are this, or you are that, and this is your first time and second time, nothing like that. I don't have any say in any part of the work. Right? And the 5 points are very clear. If you didn't participate in the class, don't come to me at the end of the class and say, sir, I didn't. You have to ask right here in the class. The reason is if you ask, somebody else will benefit. Alright? Because everybody has the same question, I know that. If they're not asking. They're afraid that they will be seen as not knowing. They will be seen as dumb, but it is not. If you knew everything, you won't be in this class. Right? So this is your opportunity to ask. To make sure that before you walk out of this class, you understand what I said. If you don't understand, ask. If there's a word that I used and you don't know, ask. Alright? So that 5% is the only thing in my way, in my hands. Other than that, everything is in your hand. So everybody, okay, highest score received. Okay, so now the second thing is, how do we factor out everything else? Some exams are very easy and everybody can get a 100%. Some exams are very difficult, everybody gets 10%. So is that means that everybody gets a C? No. Basically, there is always 100%. Whoever gets the highest is 100%, and then we just score everything out. And this is experimental design. Again, that's another part of the course that I teach on performance analysis. When there are many factors that affect a number, you have to take out the other factors except that student. Okay? So there is a factor is me. If I don't teach well, everybody will get low grades in the exam, right? There is a factor such as how hard the exam is, how much time I gave you. All of those things are filtered out once I take the highest exam. If somebody can do it, in the time allocated with the same instructor, with the same class, then you should be able to do it. Right? So how much of that you did? So that's what we do. We take the highest mark in the exam, and that becomes the 100%. Is that clear? So suppose we gave an exam and the highest is 69. 69 is 100%. Everybody's mark will be divided by 69. If you got 34, 32 point whatever, half of 69, you get 50%. Okay? And measures relative performance of the student, effect of all other factors such as time allotted, hardness of the exams. So you cannot complain, oh, you gave me only 5 minutes. Everybody got 5 minutes. Right? In 5 minutes, this guy could do 5 questions and you did 2 questions. Right? So you get, 2/5. So everything is allotted by this. Okay. All right. All exams are closed book. You cannot bring a computer, you cannot bring an iPhone, you cannot bring a tablet, you cannot bring anything that has information in it. But you are allowed to bring one cheat sheet, one piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. You can write anything you want, you can print anything you want, you can micro print anything you want in that piece of paper. Some of you have taken the courses with me before. This is all repeat, but for those who have not done it before, basically that's the only thing which is allowed, and the pencil along with it, right? And for the calculator, only TI-30 are equivalent. So we don't want a memory calculator or anything like that. You cannot use your iPhone as a calculator. Clear? Alright, exam dates are fixed. Exam dates will not be changed. And there are no substitute exams. So if you couldn't make it, sorry. Too bad. Best of the 2 midterms is used, and that's why we use 2 exams. Okay, so the exams for your sake are not cumulative, they are incremental. So in the first exam, we use the whatever we covered up to the first exam. In the second exam, we cover the exam will cover only what you covered from the first to the second. In the final exam, we only cover the last third. Now, having said that, the material is cumulative in the sense that if you didn't understand phi layer, you won't understand the rest of the course at all. Right? But I would not ask you a straight phi layer question at all in the second exam because it was in the first exam. So the material might have relationship, and so that's why you don't need to forget. I mean, you don't want to forget everything, but you don't need to read it again and again. You need to read it once at least. And hopefully when you get into real life and somebody asks you what is Bluetooth, you will remember where to look for it at that time. Right? I mean, this is what we need to do all the time nowadays. There is so much information out there that we just need to know where to find it. All right, homeworks. All the homeworks are due on the following Monday. So there is no Wednesday except for the next one. Monday at the beginning of the class. So you can, basically at 1 o'clock you come in, you put your homework here. Any late submission, if allowed, will always have a penalty. So here is the thing. If you are not able to do it because you are sick or whatever it is, whatever is the reason for lateness, if you have valid reason, we will allow it, but that valid reason will result in a penalty. Okay? And so that is basically, so you have to just bring it here and hard copy right here. Okay? There will be short 5-minute quiz at the beginning, 3 to 5 minute quiz at the beginning of each class to check if you have read the topic covered in the last class. So that is one more thing. I really want you to read right then and there every class, not at the end at the exam date. Okay, a lot of people just don't read anything until the exam date, and then I kind of keep talking about something and people don't know. See, right now you don't know what we said in a prerequisite for 473, but if I covered something last class and you don't know in this class, that's a problem. So every class in the beginning I will have a quiz. So come on time. If you're late, sorry, you missed it. 3 minutes late, you missed it. So it's a very short quiz, paper quiz. I give you a paper, you return it back to me after marking. Done. Any question about that? Yeah.
Is that covered by the same formula for guessing?
Yes. So basically positive, negative marking, question, numerical, everything is else just like an exam, except that it is so short that it is, I just want to make sure that you have done something, and it counts as part of homework. Okay. So basically it is not part of the, in the quizzing, in the exam we saw that 15% right there for homework, it's part of that, yeah.
Is it like split half and half, so like the homework's like 75% and the quizzes are the rest?
No, it's in the 15%. Everything is just added. So these quizzes are actually like a homework. And particularly if I have not given any homework, then I really need to take a quiz. If I have given a homework, then I can be comfortable that you would have done the reading to do the homework. And I may not do the quiz that day. But, so that's both. Basically, quiz and homework are part of the same thing. Reading is part of the homework. Yeah.
How many homework assignments are usually assigned?
How many?
Yeah, are usually assigned, or what's the frequency?
Every class. The question was, how many homeworks are assigned? The assigned is, every class there is a homework, and if there is no homework, there is a quiz following. Right? And there could be a quiz and a homework both. But basically, yes, there is a homework every class. I really want you to follow with me. See, thing is, we are going to run like a high-speed train. And if you get behind, then you are lost. We lose you forever. I work hard and I want you to work hard. All right? So if you have lots of other loads and things like that, and I know one person, for example, he had 18 credits, so which is good for him. I mean, but then the thing is, then, you cannot complain to me that, look, I have 18 credits and how can I put this one? Well, I mean, I don't know. I want 3 credits out of it, and I want 15 hours out of you. Now you have 15 times 8, 90 hours in a week. I don't know. 15 times 6, yeah. That is how many hours you need if you want to take 18 credits. So I'm just telling you. So you have to balance your load with the load required for this course. Yeah.
So, for the homework Monday and one on Wednesday, they're both due next Monday, right?
Monday, yeah. Yeah. The reason is because you may not get time enough to do the homework. So when I allow you weekend, that's when most of the people do actually. Most of the time people ask questions only on Sunday evening. You know, they don't look at it until it is due on Monday morning. Okay, any other question? Okay, my office hours are 11 to 12 on Mondays and Wednesday. My teaching assistant, Hila, is not here right now, but she will be here next week. She has office hours on Thursdays and Friday. Okay. And what else? She has an office in 522E. I am in 523.
Mondays and Wednesdays, there is a computer architecture course from 11:30 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the students here take that course as well. So
Yeah, you don't need actually. The thing is, if you need to question, you can come back at 11. That's not a problem. 11:30 is not an issue. Second thing is, if it is a question that belongs to the topic, technical material, please ask it in the class. You get a credit for that participation. If you ask a technical question in the room, then you're just hiding, your shyness of asking the question in the class, and then you don't get any credit for that. The only reason you want to come to my room is because there is a personal thing that you want to discuss that you don't want to discuss in the public here. Right? And there are almost always there is nothing like that. Okay? So please ask right here in the class. So I come to the class and you say the last class you talked about this and I'm not sure what it is. You can ask that. If at the last class, you can ask the next class. Okay? So you can ask anything in the class. And the reason is here, everybody will benefit. And I want everybody to benefit and not just, right? One person. So, office hour is there, and if a question or something like that, generally you can ask in the class, right here. What else can I say? Yeah, so 11:30 is not a problem. 11 o'clock you can come. Anything else? Okay. So that brings us to the end of this whole discussion. There will be a lot of self-reading and writing to prepare for a career in wireless networking, and you have to get ready to work hard. Any final question about anything? Yeah.
If we wanted to do a hands-on project, will we have to buy our own wireless routers, or could we borrow some items from you for that?
Well, come to me, and if I have it, I will give it to you. If it is an interesting project, we might even buy it for you. But I don't want, basically, it depends on the idea, right? If it is a good idea, I would love to have it done. Any other question? All right, so let's go to the first thing, which is the search. All of you have done search and you do it every minute, every day, right? However, some of you don't know these things, how to do Google search. How many of you have used the first modifier called file type PDF, doc, PPT, or PPTX? File type PDF. How many of you have done that? All right. So that's the thing is that, everybody does search, but it is not taught in any class. Nobody teaches us how to search. All right. But that is the fundamental thing for research. Research. You cannot do research if you don't know how to do search. And so first thing you need to know is how to use Google. And these are the modifiers that Google allows. So if you search for something and say file type :PDF, it will just give you the results which are in PDF. And why it is important? Because the material in PDF is much better quality than the material not in PDF. Okay, somebody sat down, wrote a paper, did some research, and then published it, right? So generally, you want to start with PDF. Similarly for PPT and doc and so on and so forth. Cite. Sometimes you want to do search only for what happened at Stanford or MIT or Bristol or something like that. You can say, by the way, you can put a plus sign before this, which means that I want it enforced. Don't give me anything without the PDF. If you put a minus sign, actually that is coming up in a minute, that I don't want any PDF stuff. Say minus file type colon PDF. Okay? And that plus and minus apply to all of these options anyway. So in title, you want to see the word in the title and not in the content. Content you don't care, but I want the word in the title. Okay? In URL, I want to see the word in the URL. For sometimes, because you are looking for a particular file name or you're looking for a particular thing, so you want to say in URL. All in title. So you want all the words in the title. All in URL. You can say quotation marks. When you say quotation marks, that means exactly that. So for example, if you search for networking trends, it will give you papers which are on networking. It will give you papers which are on trends. But you really want something where networking and trends happen next to each other. So you have to put in the quotes. R. So R is actually recognized by Google. You can say networking R trends and it will just take the union of the two results. Or and it will take the intersection of the two results. Okay. Plus must include, minus do not include, minus or tilde x means similar, something similar. So if you say trends and tilde trends, that means Google will think what else can the word people use the word for trend. What are the similar words? And will search for those. And a star means I don't care. Okay, so you could say I want networking star trends. Alright, so the first homework today, we start the project. Now some of you will drop the course, so don't worry about it. But those of you who continue the course, you have to do this homework. Alright? You have to search the web pages, books and journal articles from IEEE Explorer, ACM Digital Library, Mobius, Safari Books and Iliad at Orlin Library for one of the following topics. I have two topics, wireless networking trends and mobile networking trends. So now what are these things? IEEE Explorer. What is that? How many people know what is IEEE Explorer? 2, 3, 4. Okay. Alright, that is where most of the technical papers are. Alright, anything that IEEE publishes is in IEEE Explorer. Explorer, yeah, right, yeah. And ACM is similar, ACM Digital Library. Mobius is Missouri, MO is Missouri, and I forget the rest of it. But basically, this is the union of all the libraries in Missouri. So, when you want a book, you don't have to just get it from Washington University Library, you can get it from some other library. And I find that most of the other libraries are in some sense better equipped, believe it or not. In some times they are better equipped in the latest books than we are. And so go and search in Mobius, and if a book is there, you just say I want it, and then it will come to you in the library, they will give it to you. There is no charge or anything like that. Okay, it just takes 2 days to get it. Safari Books, I already told you, is all the books are online and you can read them, the latest books. Iliad is the interlibrary loan. So if something is not in Missouri, if it is in California, if it is in I don't know, maybe international countries, they will get it for you from that library. Again, no charge, but it just takes longer. Okay? But the advantage is you can also ask library to buy a book if you really want a book, and they will buy it, but buying the book will take 3 months. If you borrow it from one of these libraries, it will take 2 days or 1 week, right? So it's much faster. So you should know all of this, and please go and use all of this in the library. If you don't know, ask somebody in the library, how do I search for ACM Digital Library? How do I search for Mobius and all that? Okay, I will not teach you that here, but I want to make sure that you understand all these words and you use them to search for either one, wireless trends or the networking trends, mobile networking trends. On the web, try the following search points. So you can go to the library full text, and Scholar, books, and so on and so forth. Okay? So try all of these. Ignore all the entries dated 2009 or before. So we don't want anything more than 5 years old, right? This is 2014. So if something is 2009 or before, we don't want that. Ignore all the entries that do not include topic or similar words in the title. So now that's another thing is, suppose you look for networking trends, you know what you will find in Google or any other place? Any book which has the word networking in it, and any book that has the word trends in it, which means all the books. Alright, you cannot write a book without having the word trend in it, can you? And you cannot write a networking book without. So the thing is, you really don't want those books which have networking and trends on page 13 and 3000, right? You want really something that is book on networking trends. Understand? So by reading the title, it should be clear to me that this is the right book, or this is the right paper, or this is the right page. Now you present these 15 things, 5 each. You want to write the 5 books. And please write it in this format: author, title in the quotes, publisher, year, ISBN, for 5 books. For 5 web pages, you write down the title. So every page has a title. Everybody knows that, right? Every page has a title. It has a URL. So write the URL. And then you have to write 1-line description. So you have to go to that page and see what it is about and write 1 line yourself for 5 web pages. Then for 5 technical articles, now these are journal papers, right? For the papers you have to write like this: author, comma, title, comma, source. Now the source has to be fully described, like, this is IEEE Communication Magazine, November 2013 issue, page 13 to 15. Just like in a technical paper, you have to reference, you write the reference here for 5 technical articles. I just want you to know how to correctly reference items. Right, for the books, include whether the book is available in Wushtel, Mobius, Safari, or Iliad. Okay, so you should know how to find the books in these 4 places, and this is the exercise. Serially number the references. So we have 15 references. Submit electronically to jain@cse.wushtel.edu. The mail should have a subject field of CSE 574S Project Homework 1. Okay. This will be filtered automatically by my mail system, so please don't change the subject field. Please note the subject, do not use any other characters in subject. Your answer would be in the content of the message, not in an attachment. And the answer is right there. It has to be right there. I should be able to print the message and get it and not have to open anything. Yeah.
What is the title of the URL?
What is the title? What is URL?
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you open a web page, URL is what shows up in that, http:/something. That is the uniform resource locator. That is called URL. But if you go just little 1 line above that in the browser, there is some text. That is the title. And let me see if I can explain. I don't have I have networking turned off right now, but just try this out. When you see a web page, there is English first, then there is URL below that. Right? That English thing is the title.
So
Yeah.
should the materials cover all possible trades or just one trade?
Trace.
You are searching for various network trades, right?
Right. So we are searching for wireless networking trends. And so, I mean, your question is whether it should have wireless and networking and trends. No, actually, I think networking is kind of superfluous here. If you look for wireless trends, it will be about networking, I suppose. I mean, they won't be talking about wireless games, I suppose. So some of that filtering has to be done manually. But it has to be at least wireless and trends and, networking in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, all the materials should cover just one trade or cover many possible trades.
One trend,
Just like one technology that would be popular.
one technology. No, I'm not limiting the technology here. I don't know. Your question is whether it should just be all on WiMAX or just all on LTE. Is that what the question is? No.
Should cover
Just wireless or mobility. Any other question? Yeah.
For each book, do I need to keep all of the 4 database, or I can just use one I found?
Let's see. Where is the homework? What am I doing here? Going backwards. Okay. the question is whether you should find out whether the book is in Bustal, Mobius, Safari, or Iliad. I think let me just make it simple for you. If it is available at Bustal, I don't care anywhere else. Right? If it is available at Mobius, I don't care anywhere else. Actually, maybe Safari should come first. And then Safari is the best. Right? So you don't have to search all four, but find the easiest source first, right? Okay, any other question? But the format is very well given, so please note that. Okay. So I don't want you to do a Google search and then give me a list of books without any ISBN, without any year, without any publisher and things like that. Okay. Same thing for the articles. A lot of people just go to Google and they get articles from there, and then you don't get the information that I'm asking for. I want you to know how to use IEEE Explore, how to use ACM Digital Library. Right? That's the purpose of this homework. Okay? All right. We have 5 minutes left, and I want you to do this quiz. You have a paper, and just mark true or false on this. I will not be checking this. But you will be checking it, and I will give you the answer in a minute. So let's just do that. If you don't know something, just leave it blank. Safest thing, because you don't want to get negative marking. Get your answer. Here's the right answer, and just mark it plus or minus, and correct and then get your own grade. You don't have to tell me that. But that will give you an idea as to how much work you will have to do to understand some of it. And as we discussed before, that some of it is not covered by 473 here, and so you are forgiven. So don't feel too bad.